Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Dad Edge Podcast. I'm Larry Hagner, your host and founder of this show. Welcome to Holy Crap, July 2nd. We are already halfway done with the year 2021. And I think a good gut check right now for the middle of the year is, are you the CEO of your life? Right? And what does that even mean? What does that even look like? What's the vision? What's the design of your life as it unfolds? And let's think about this in three different ways. You have your marriage. If you're listening to this show, chances are you're probably married. You have your kids, and then you have your business or your place of work, right? And how might you be the CEO of your family and your marriage and of yourself and even in your business? And if you're not a business owner, but like even in your career, like how are you the CEO in your position, right? And we have to ask, when we are the CEO in those aspects of our life, no matter what it is, the biggest question that we need to ask ourselves is not necessarily the how, but the who, right? Not the how, but the who. And how might we bring who we need to have in our lives to create the amazing connections that we must have within our family, within our kids, within our marriages, and within our business. And I'm really excited today because we've got a long time accelerator mastermind of ours. Our accelerator mastermind is for our business owners. We have, as you guys know, we have two different programs. We have Dad Edge Alliance, and then we also have Dad Edge Accelerator. Accelerator is for our business owner dads, or what we call our biz dads. And what we do in that group is we ask questions kind of like this, except for way deeper. But today I have a gentleman who has an incredible message for us and for those of you who maybe own businesses or have side hustles out there. But what does it mean to be the CEO of your life? And what does that look like? So I'm really excited to bring on Dan. What's up, Dan? Dan Doromal. Good to see you, brother.
Thank you so much, Larry. It's great to be here, man.
It's good to have you, man. Hey, let's start out with some fun questions first.
Let's do it.
All right, man. So what's an activity, hobby, or anything that brings you joy outside of the work that you do?
Man, really, probably the greatest joy is I'm just hanging out with the kids. But I'll tell you, it's actually building Legos with my son. My son is 5 years old, and he can go through book to book for with Legos. Anything you put in front of him, man. If it's a 500 piece thing or if it's a 2,000 piece thing, at 5 years old, it's really crazy to watch him unfold and take a look at the different things and get excited about stuff that I used to get excited about, but no longer get excited about because it's just easy, right? So that's what pumps me up and what brings me joy.
So just being a kid with your kids sounds like. Are you a playful guy? I mean, as far as like, is it easy for you to just get down and play with the kids?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like once I'm in it, I'm in it like as if I was a kid again, right? And a lot of times people ask me, "Hey, how do you do that?" I'm like,
Yeah,
"We've been through this. We've done this, and we just had to tap back into it, right?" So
I want to talk about that here for a second because that, I mean, hey, I run this podcast and there's things that I do well, and then I have a laundry list, if not pages, of things that I don't do well. And one of them is play with my little kids well. And I noticed like with my older ones, like, hey, you want to throw the football? Yeah, man, let's go throw the football. I want to play basketball. I want to do this. I want to go work out. Yeah. But when it comes to like the Lego thing, or when it comes to like last night, I drew with my 7-year-old for about 45 minutes. We just drew. He was like, okay, we're drawing a cat next. Okay, we're drawing this next. And I noticed when I was in it, I loved it. But it was the fact that I was just like getting into it. It's like, man, sitting there drawing, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun, even though it sounds probably pretty cold and insensitive. But I'm just like, that's always something I'm trying to work on, is being more playful with the little ones. So what's your perspective on it when you have the opportunity to play with your kids? Like, how is it so enticing for you?
I think it's just the presence. Like being with the kids for me, it's an outlet to be present. And I'll notice sometimes it's not always like, oh, this is amazing and I'm in this magical world where I'm playing with the kids and nobody else is around. It's not always like that, to your point, right? But it is an exercise. So when it's actually clicking, when you're in your flow, right? Um, there is nothing else around. You're not thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, or you're not thinking about what you messed up on or what you could have done better, a couple of hours ago when you were at work. It's just right then and there. And when you're right, when I'm right then and there, then I'm noticing the little things that they find interesting. I'm noticing the little things, that the little light bulb. That's the greatest thing for me. When a kid like does the oh, I don't know if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's basically just the light bulb that goes off, and their eyes widen, and their mouth kind of drops a little bit, like, oh, look, wait a second, this just fit like this. And I was talking to a friend the other day. We were talking about how um, an opportunity for appreciation, right? Whenever a kid, say they run to you in the middle, say I'm washing dishes and I have to wash these dishes, but the kid comes to me and says, hey, you got to look at this, you got to look at this. And I turn to the kid and my son or my daughter, and I say, hey, let me finish this first, and then I'll get to you. And they're like, no, I really got to show you. You ever been in that moment? The excitement that they have, right?
It's like every minute of every day. I think that they
Okay.
count. Like it doesn't even matter what it is. It's like, oh, check this out. And
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
could be something small like that.
It could be something small, but if you turn to your son, right, or your children, and you're like, "That is freaking amazing," right? They would like light up and be like, "Yeah, I know, I told you that. That's what I'm trying to tell you," right? And that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about being a dad.
Yeah, man. It's I think the theme I'm really picking up from you is seeing the world from their eyes. Like literally like envisioning the world of like, oh, what that probably must look like this to them, right? That they're seeing that kind of thing for the first time.
You hit on something that I remember when I was a little bit younger. I had there was I worked my butt off. I was in the restaurant industry for a while, and I remember one day I came home. It was probably about 12:30 at night, because you got to close, you got to clean up, you got to do all that stuff. And I sat down on my kitchen floor. Literally, I sat down. It's that tired, right? And when you're sitting down in the kitchen floor, you're probably what? How tall are you? All right, right? You're probably maybe about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet tall. But then I looked around, tired as all hell. I looked around, and then I noticed, oh man, this is what my kids see, right? Or this is what children see. I forgot the moment when I remembered, hey, I want to one day I'm going to wash dishes. One day I'll get to be that height and I can help like one day I'll be able to reach and turn on that faucet by myself, right? And then in my tired state, I was probably delusional, right? I'm so tired. But in my tired state, I was like, wow, this is a different world. This is a new world. This is a world that I forgot, right? And I know you recently went to Disney, right? My
For the
family, we
first time, by the way, at 45
first
years
time
old,
ever?
first
No
time
way,
ever.
really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, enjoy those corn dogs and all all that stuff, right? Um, but I remember going to Disney, but it's a different thing when I've been to Disney a number of times with and without my kids, but going with my kids, completely different. The world is completely different.
Yeah,
And
man.
when I have time, right? When have time and the patience and the presence to be with the kids, then I live a different life. I live their life, which is phenomenal, right?
It's interesting that you say that. I get to live their life, which is phenomenal. Those were the words you used. And what would it be like if all of us, because that's a great reminder for me too, right? It's like if my son wants to play Legos or he wants me to color with him, which I'll be honest, it's not my favorite things to do. Like give me a football to throw around or like let's go play some basketball or some wiffle ball or something like that. But like those other playful things but it just brings that kid to life. And it's like what if I looked at the world through those eyes, right? Versus my eyes, which, I might be like poo pooing on that situation, right? So I love that perspective, man. Let's switch gears though to
Yeah.
marriage. Okay. How long you been married?
We just celebrated our 10th anniversary.
I ooh, double
Yeah.
digits.
I
Congratulations.
did. We did date for 10 years beforehand. We probably could have gotten married a little bit sooner, but so I've known her for 20 years
Oh
and
my
dating.
gosh, man. Did you just get a wrath of hell for that? Like waiting so long?
Look, I told her, I said, hey, at that you're like probably 7 or 8, 9. I was like, you're happy, right? She said, yeah. Then why would you change anything about what's going on right now? You're happy. So yeah, she hated it.
What's been the biggest learning out of marriage?
I was asked this question on Tuesday, and really it was a change of the question. It was like, what would you tell people who are just getting married, right? So it's kind of a similar thing. And my answer to that was, get yourself a good group of friends and a group of people around you, because this is for sure a journey, and it's there's so many ups and downs, left and right. So it'll take you everywhere, and a lot of people can't complete the journey, and that's perfectly fine, or they'll start a new journey. but it's tough, man. It's tough. They don't. So on my wedding day, I looked to my uncle, who I got married when I was 28. I looked to my uncle, who's about 25 years my senior, and I'm probably a little bit buzzed. I probably had a little bit too much drink. And I go up to him, put my arm around him, and I said, "So I'm part of your club now, right?" And then he turns to me in a sideways look. He turns to me and he says, "Oh no, you're not part of the club. You're in spring right now. You come back to me after you've gone through a winter." Right. and so and so it
Wow.
didn't register to me. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
register because I was having so much fun. It's your wedding day. But if you ask me now, oh, for sure it registers, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so talk to us real quick about getting out of a winter. Maybe give us an example of what getting out of a winter for you and your wife look like. And I'm happy to share some of mine too.
Yeah.
That way you're not in the hot seat.
Yeah. So it, there are a lot of stressors, right?
Yeah.
Here's an example. So, I graduated from college in 2006, and even before I graduated, I was already starting my third business. All right. So, as soon I graduated, never used my engineering degree, but got into business with my brothers, and which was amazing. But since that time, I had started and been a part of 8 startups, right? And this last one, we've been running this company for about 5.5 years. I can still consider it a startup, but it's been amazing. Around 2014, I really made a jump where you invested a lot of time and money into something, and that was the first instance of like, oh, there's a little crack here, right? Because there was my dreams and aspirations, right? I'm gonna do this, hell or high water. This is gonna happen. My wife is like, I'm really nervous about this. This is a big investment. This is a lot of time commitment, right? And it start from the start, 3 months in, 6 months in, 12 months in, she was always on the side. Okay, when are you gonna stop? Right? This is getting to be too much. Like you're investing too much. This is, and I said, no, it's going to pop at any time. Um, that's an example of a winter because there were like daily there was these things, and there were moments in my life where I said, hey, you're not appreciating what I'm doing. I'm going after my dream right here, right? I've experienced doing this is a larger thing, but this is still going after my dream. Why aren't you supporting me? And then from the other side of it was, hey, I'm nervous about this. This is a lot for our family to take on, but I wasn't hearing all that, right? I didn't know to listen for that. And so I disregarded it. I honestly, I didn't even hear it. So the when did it turn into spring? Like that winter goes into spring, and honestly, this was a good story because the company grew. I kept stringing it along, and we ended up selling and exiting, and then that funded three additional companies. But um, but I'll tell you that
Hello.
yeah, sorry about that. The winter is rough. I'll tell you.
What was some of the learnings? If you had to do that situation all over again, what was some of the learnings for you?
Goes back to communication.
Yep.
So what I was doing back then is that I wasn't being honest or open. It's not like I was dishonest, but I wasn't being open to the where we stood today and what the plan was next. Because I had everything in my head and I didn't consider her a business partner. I consider her my CEO today, right? So she is my CEO. I'm along for that ride. Like I love to propose things to her. Hey, we could do this. What about these financials? Here we can invest in this. We can try to acquire this. Um, and she doesn't fully understand. She doesn't have my experience, but she is the one that helps make the decision, if not makes the decision. And that's a role that I'll play every single time.
I love that, man. She is my CEO. I'll share one with you, just a winter perspective as well, just because you shared one. And I think a lot of it does go back to communication, right? And I think it's so important to communicate effectively. And what I mean by that is my wife and I used to always have these more problem centric focused conversations. How do we fix our communication problem? How do we fix our intimacy problem? How do we fix our parenting problems? Right. It was so focused on problems. And what we found is that we weren't really focused on solutions. So we would always ask ourselves questions like, why can't we communicate? Why can't we have more intimacy? Why can't we get on the same page as parenting? And then when you're asking each other questions like that, and it just boils down to the question, When you're asking each other, why can't we? Then you're answering a really poor question and both of you are doing it. Yeah, let's analyze all the things we can't do. Right. And I think
Hmm.
there's a time and a place to identify problems. Right. But when you focus 90% of your time and effort on problem and why it's not working, it's mental bandwidth that's taken away with how might we, the how might we question. And the how might we question definitely goes past a problem. So, like, for instance, my wife and I no longer talk really about our communication problem. It's like instead we say, how might we elevate our relationship and we feel so ultimately connected that we can talk about anything without shame or guilt or anything like that, or the other person getting upset? What does that look like? And when we ask each other questions like that, of like, what does that look like? Those problems tend to dissipate because now you're not trying to put a band-aid on something. You're trying to elevate the entire relationship and the entire connection. Right. So that's one thing. I've noticed that when you're going back to your theme, when you're living in a winter season where things just aren't clicking, sometimes all you need to do to bring spring back into season, to use that analogy, is to ask that how might we question. That communication, man.
Hmm. So that that's beautiful, man. For me, what comes up is there's a transition, right? There is the, hey, here's a problem, here's the how might we. If I could ask you a question, what was that transition like? How long did it take you guys, or what was the defining thing that took you guys from here's the, hey, this is wrong, we have to fix it, to how might we?
I think so. I was certified in discipline of facilitation that you guys actually experience in the mastermind that we do, because we use it all the time in Accelerator, and that's appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry gets you thinking about your life, your business, your marriage, your kids, everything in a whole different way. It's that how might we question, right? I mean, that's like the 30,000-foot view of appreciative inquiry.
Hmm.
How might we, right? It's the best of what was, the best that is, and the best of what could be, right? Um, I think it really clicked for me when I got certified in that. I mean, that was a 50-hour certification. And I think that there were elements early on in our marriage of the how might we or what could be, but we didn't know what the heck we were doing. And we were still focused more on problems than we were on solutions. So now even with the kids, when the kids come to me and they're just like, man, why don't I understand algebra? And the question I'll put back on them is, what resources do you need to understand it better? What would it look like if you fully understood algebra, and what help do you think you need to get there? Versus like answering the question of like, why can't I get this? Why can't I understand this? But I think for us, it was the solidifier was getting certified in that.
Did it take a while to Did it take a while for your wife, because she's not certified in that, right? So did
No,
it take a while? That's what I'm saying. So there was a transition for her, because yours was a
yeah.
50-hour transition, then and then you had to practice, obviously, but you knew what you were learning. For her, what did that look like, if you were to guess?
So at first, I mean, and this is great perspective, right? Because when you're with somebody, and this, you guys have been together 20 years, Jessica and I have been together for 25 years, is when you start to operate in a different way, the people that are closest to you look at you with a raised eyebrow. What are you doing?
Hmm.
Who are you? Why are you asking this question? Because even if it's a good change, even if it's something that's positive, you're still messing with the perspective that a person views you through. Like when you see your wife, you probably view her through a certain lens and a certain filter at all times. And if she does something very, very different, it's kind of like the analogy I love to use all the time. It's like your grandmother coming to you and saying, guess what? Tomorrow I'm going to start training for a marathon. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, what? Like, that sounds positive and healthy, but your grandma, like, you don't run marathons. Like, she's messing with the perspective you have on her. And anytime our perspectives are messed with, by people that know us best, it's like, what are you doing? Like, right, what is this change all about? Even though I kind of like it, but where are you going with this? Right, this is not you. So it took her a minute, but then when she started to realize, and now she does it all the time, well, how might we, or what's the best way we could tackle that, or what's the best way we could solve that? It's it's been an amazing transformation in our relationship and the way we parent. But yeah. But you know what? Let's kick this question back to you. I mean, you've been a part of Dad Edge Accelerator in the business mastermind. where we help men with those three areas, marriage and kids and business. And I know we put you guys through some pretty intense exercises of how to look at things, how to be held accountable to do things, to do big things. But what are some of the lessons that you've taken from that appreciative inquiry type of facilitation, and how have you incorporated, or how are things changing in your life?
Is it okay? So um, it was just last month. I remembered this pretty clearly. We were driving from my parents' place, and they live about 2 hours away, so we had some extended time. But we were talking. Michelle was driving, and she kind of turns to me and she says, you're just different now. I'm going back to a nod to what you said about your wife, or even a nod to earlier in our conversation, when a kid puts a Lego piece together and they're just like, huh, this goes like this, right? So she's like, you're just different now. And I'll tell you, I think there's patience, right? Let's just talk about the relationship aspect of it, right? Um, Through being in the accelerator, I'm able to just take a look at it more so from the other side, whether it's my wife. I had a problem employee. I had one of my head managers. We're just button heads all the time, right? And it took, hey, here's what I want. Here's what I see out of all of this that we have here at this company, and here's what I hope for. And now let's talk about how we can get there together, right? It's the same kind of verbiage that you're using. I've never been in appreciative inquiry or certified like you, but you've taken us through it, through the accelerator, right? Um, so that changed. Now, I no doubt, no joke, that guy, he's I consider him my number three. Other side, other than my business partner would be, we're always talking, but he's number three now. I'm including him as many conversations as I can now, right? Because there was a lack of communication, there was a gap, and I didn't realize it, between what was going on top level and what he knew. So that the relationship aspect. There are other things in the accelerator that, man, I would never have done. There's a stoic exercise that you guys have everyone do, which is like, hey, write your own um, eulogy. And it was like 11 o'clock at night on the day that I was supposed to do it, right? And I'm writing this thing, bawling, like tears coming down my face. You know what I wrote it? I wrote it as if my daughter, who's a special needs kid, my daughter, I pretended that I died from a heart attack. She was 18 years old, and she was writing it, or she was speaking it, right? So that was my eulogy. My daughter, 18, special needs, like she was doing. And man, as I was writing this thing, it was just going. And what an exercise, right? To think about one's own mortality and what that looks like, and then bring you present, going back, bring you present. The other thing is that as business owners, uh, Jeff talks about, hey, there's a metric in business that we never report on, and I said, what's that? It's like the number of days off. How many days off have you taken? What's the purpose of us running a business if we're always a slave to the business, right? So I changed. All of this year, we've been reporting on how many days off I've taken off. How many days off is my partner taking off? It's there. It's just a metric for us, right? The better we do, the more days off we could take, right? So yeah, there's a lot of little things, but it still comes back to one of the greatest things is the communication aspect of it all, right? So
I love that, man. Yeah, I love that you have a metrics in there for days off. What do you do with your days off? What brings you to life? I know you said hanging out with the kids, but like, if you could design, this is another appreciative inquiry question, by the way. Yeah. Appreciative inquiry, the way we facilitate the mastermind, it's all about design, right? It's not about life managing you, it's about you designing the life, right, that you want. So if you were to design your perfect day off, and remember, you're like the CEO of your life. That's the theme of today's show, right? So the CEO of your life, and you're designing your perfect day off. How would that go down from waking moment to bed?
wow, this is an exercise in and of itself. So let's say, okay, so I probably get up at 4:30, and get ready and go to the gym at 5 right when it opens. Um,
This is your
and
day
then
off, Dan. Just
Hey,
so,
no,
no, I'm just kidding.
that's
I'll do
part
the
of the
same
day
thing.
off for sure. Get that gym, right? Get that 75 hard.
Yeah.
Uh, no, the gym is man. Any extended amount of time. So, just preface this. I'm around people all the time. People are knocking my door all the time. I have to answer to, and again, I lead a company, but I still have to answer people's emails because they need me. They need to make decisions all the time, right? So if there's any time that I can get by myself with my own thoughts, unencumbered, from kids, from employees, from wife, and all that stuff, then that's golden. How golden is that? So if it was a perfect day, if it was just one day, and then you go back, right? For sure, it would start off me working out in the morning, uh, and then it would transition into something where I'm just out in nature. I'll probably be hiking. There's some great trails here in Florida, even though it's flat. It's beautiful out there, right? And I would just go out and just think. I'm I love to just plan. I love to think about what could be, right? So I would take an extended amount of time there, and then I'd probably come back home for lunch and go hang out with the kids and enjoy them. Let's say I were to die that day, right? Let's say I were to die that day. I would probably hang out with the kids, and then you'd have one of those infamous like, "Hey, this is the last meal" meals, right? You'd have for me it's it's fried chicken, 100%. I don't care about the steak. I don't care about the pork chops. I don't care. It's
Yeah,
give me some real good southern fried chicken, collard greens, some rice on the side, like money, and then I can retire for the night, right? So that's the day.
I love it, man. That is good stuff. I want to go back to one other thing too. You mentioned the eulogy, which by the way, so for the guys who join Accelerator, what I do is when I talk to them on a Zoom call, and they're like, I explain how we do it and all the metrics behind it and how we do these 8-week goal intensives, and then there's check-ins, and we teach you guys things along the way, and then there's workshops and breakouts and all this stuff. And then when they're like, yes, I want to do this, like, okay, I was like, well, here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to connect you to Jason, who's also our co-facilitator. He's going to take you through 3 exercises. One is your 1-year vision. The other one is your 5-year vision. And one I'm not going to tell you about. So you just outed the exercise that's supposed to be kept secret, but that's okay, because I want to talk about the eulogy here real quick as we wrap up. I think when we reflect upon our own mortality, it can bring just this feeling of darkness, maybe even of sadness, maybe even regret, right? To think about, well, there's one thing that every single human that walks the planet, and that is that one day we're all going to die. Unless Elon Musk thinks of a way that we can inject ourselves with something that we will live forever, which he might be the one to do it. Who knows at
Yeah,
this point, right?
exactly.
But at one point in time, we are all going to pass away. And most of us, especially if we're business owners, we're thinking about the here and now. We're thinking about today. We're thinking about the week, maybe the weekend, maybe the quarter, right? But we're trying to manage life as it comes at us for the most part. But when you start thinking about your own mortality and be like, wow, yeah, there is going to come a day when I'm knocking on death's doorstep, and I don't know when that's going to be. And what does my life really look like? What impact did I have? And you said your daughter would be reading this, right? What impact did I have on her? What impact did I have on my other kids? What impact did I have on my wife and the people around me? What impact did I have on my customers or the people that I do business with? What am I leaving behind that's not materialistic? And when you're forced to put pen to paper and really reflect on that, it gets real,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because you start to gut check, what have I done to date? And most importantly, what am I going to do at the time that I have left? And for you, I would love to know some of the things that really emerged for you during that exercise and what it felt like.
Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, it was tears, man. It was tears. Um, and there was a racing, and then there was rewriting, and then because even in the exercise you're overthinking it, right? But what emerged for me from it, because it was a story, as I was taking on the character of my daughter, right? It was a story of a relationship that was pure, right? It was a story of a relationship of me helping her, but also her helping me, right? And so that exercise got me to realize how powerful. I'm not talking about changing the world, right? I'm not I'm not even I'm not talking about, changing, necessarily changing just your city, right? I'm talking about just changing and having an impact on your circle, right? Start with your circle. Peterson talks about this. Just start with your own house first, right? Um, and how much of an impact that is. And I'll recollect this one story. I was horrible at baseball. Horrible. Um, you got the sun there. That's awesome. I was horrible at baseball. And there was one day that my dad, it was four kids in my family, and three of them were my two brothers. I was the middle kid, and I had a younger brother. And we never spent time with our dad. But I was playing baseball, had a horrible game, and he took me out. And we went to the batting cages. We never do that. He doesn't have time for that. And then afterward, he took me to a restaurant, just me and him. And on that day, I realized, hey, how important, what it was to be a dad. If I asked him today, hey, do you remember that day? They're like, no, I don't remember that day. But for me, what did it impact? Right. So it's all the little things that we do as dads. It's all the little things that we do as CEOs that we won't even remember. We're just trying to live our lives as good as we can live it. But it has a huge impact on the person that we're around. Right. So that in writing the eulogy, it's being present, because the relationship is the most important thing. And the eulogy, she didn't write down how much money I left her, right? She didn't write down like what kind of house we had or what kind of cars we drove, even though those things are great in the moment, right? Um, but she did talk about how much I helped her, right? So that's it's relationship, man.
Isn't it crazy that probably 95% of the things that we chase on a daily basis are not really included in that end of our life vision?
Oh yeah, I would even go
Right?
higher than the 95%, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I was being pretty conservative, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
And
are measured. We are measured not by our. I imagine we're measured not by the wealth that we possess, but by the number of people that we change and impact. Right.
absolutely.
Even if it's one, like yeah, find one person to stand up and say, hey, this made it. You made a big difference. That's why I applaud the work that you do, Larry. I applaud all the guys that are in the accelerator who are looking to make changes in their own life for the better. Because here's what it boils down to. See, going back to the CEO stuff, right? CEO of our own lives. Um, when we are able to better ourselves, we are able to better all the people around us, and then it's just overall we're making a better world. Even as corny as that sounds, like I truly believe that.
I don't think that sounds corny at all. And by the way, if you hear any paper rustling, it's because my 5-year-old in the background here needs some paper to draw on. So
There you go.
there you go.
Nice.
No, I totally agree with that. And here's the thing: if you, this may sound self-serving, but I don't mean it this way. You can take what we do. You can take anything positive in the world, call it a church, call it whatever. It doesn't really matter. But when someone is being impacted in a way where they are leading themselves and others eh, better in life, they are leaving inspiration. They're leaving breadcrumbs, and they're people see them, right? People see what they're doing. And your wife said that to you.
Yeah.
And there have been times we've been operating, we meaning everyone I'm talking to in the audience right now, where someone sees you and you're like, there's something different about you. Like there's something, I don't know what's going on, but it's good, right? Or maybe you've seen that in other people and you're like, I don't know what that guy's doing, I don't know what she's doing, but man, like whatever it is, it's working. Like I just see them operating at a different level. When you see people like that, it's inspiring. And that not only the person that is operating in that manner is not only changed, but the people that see that person are also changed, right? And then that inspires other people to step up. And yeah, when you change a person, I truly believe in, and in our case, when you change a man, that man changes. And because that man changes, his marriage changes. And because his marriage changes, his parenting changes. And when the parenting changes and the family changes, the work that he does outside the family, that brings him more joy. So it's these things that perpetuate. And when he's showing up better in his business, he's showing up better in his community. When you're showing up better in your community, that community shows up better for the world. I know that sounds kind of woo woo, but it's this trickle effect. Think of these people who are impacting the world and either on a huge grandiose scale, or maybe just think about somebody in your life that just brings you a lot of positivity and inspiration and joy and what they're doing, right? So these things are a ripple effect, man, and they absolutely do change. Guys like you, man. I mean, you're changing the world, whether you think so or not. I know that's a lot to think about, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah, and it starts with the kids in our lives, right? And
That's right.
it's literally that simple. I had that thought. Okay, as maybe I'm not the one. Maybe I'm not the president of the United States kind of material, right? But my son could be, and I'm
Yeah,
changing, right? Or your son right there. He could be the next Picasso. Look at him, right?
I
So
know, right? He loves to draw.
there you go.
He does love to draw, my little 5-year-old. So let's do this, man. And I would love for you to just give the men in the audience some advice. And I'm gonna put a boundary around it. I don't want you to promote the mastermind or the accelerator at all. I just want you to give a man advice and think of your 20 years of knowing your wife, 10 years of marriage, raising kids, uh, being a CEO of your company, buying, investing in other companies, selling companies. You've done a lot in your life. But if you were to have a conversation with a man who maybe is 10 or 15 years behind you, who's in the audience right now, maybe he's new to being married, maybe he's new to being a father, maybe he's looking to start a business, but who knows? But what if you could speak to that man right now? What advice would you give him?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the importance of your circle. Um, and I'll start by saying that life is uncomfortable, right? Life is a bunch of just ups and downs, but the downs, they it can last years if you let it, right? So um, as a young as a young man, I would say that I always try to do things for myself. Try to figure it out. I thought that was the path, and it is. You can get out of it yourself, not a problem. But the duration, the amount of time that it actually takes in order to do that, could be shortened dramatically by just letting in somebody else, getting their opinion, getting their thoughts on something. And so I think that the circle overall is key, because life is a struggle, right? So getting as many people, as many thoughts. I'm an avid book reader, right? But even books don't do it justice. It's physically talking to another human being and saying, hey, what do you think about this? There's something magical in that interaction with people, and an exchange of knowledge that is just different from being book read, right? Because they've been through it. That person could have done it, right, rather than theorizing on it. So as myself 15 years ago, I'd say, hey man, this is the bigger your dreams are, the more people you have to let in. So if you're going to dream big, well, you better get a bunch of people to help you. But if you're contented being where you are and how you want to be, then that's cool too. It's not a big deal. But the main thing is, how big are your dreams?
How big are your dreams and the people that you surround yourself with? And I love the theme too that you're giving permission for men to ask for help. It's one of the biggest things that we struggle with, man. It's like, I don't want to ask for help. What if people think I'm weak? What if people think I'm this or that? But like when we ask for help, when we dig into, people that we trust, people who have already paved the way for us. I mean, what a compliment that is. What a compliment that is to ask for insight, around people that are operating maybe at the level you want to be, or you just respect them enough because you see the way that they're operating and you're asking for advice. I love it, man. Well, hey, dude, this has been absolutely an amazing and inspirational podcast with you. I obviously love having you in the group, and I love the theme of being the CEO of our lives. As you look to last question I have for you, as you look to the end of 2021, what are we celebrating in your life? If you and I and our crew, we were sitting around, we held our glasses up with champagne. What an amazing 2021. What would you be telling us that you're most grateful for and you're celebrating?
Wow. The instant thing would be business goals. I mean, those are, they come to the forefront. Um, yeah. So here, yeah, I'll do this. All right. So we would be celebrating. It would be January 1st and say, wow, we take a look at that year. We would be celebrating me going down to 20 hours a week for my current role as a CEO. That allows me, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to work from 9 to about 2 so that I can pick up my kids every day at 3 because so I can see their face after school, right? But I have time in the morning to help them, right? So from 9 to 2, so I'm going down to about 20 hours a week, but then that would take, that's the who, that's taking the people that I have today and helping them grow. So if we're celebrating this, that means I did something right. I did something right to instill trust and responsibility into the people that I work with.
20. You realize now I'm going to hold you to this in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2021. This is it. Man.
That's what we're going to be celebrating, my friend.
Yeah.
I love it, man. And then you're going to have your perfect day, but you can't eat fried chicken every day.
Dude, there's got to be some pill I could take Elon Musk style where I can't. I'm gonna figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I'm sure you will, man. And if anything, like he'll figure it out for us some way,
Exactly.
some way. I don't know. Hey, gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's show and you want to connect with Dan, you want to connect with me. Also, we'll have a couple links in there too for 21 Days to an Extraordinary Marriage. We'll have a link in there. That's a free resource for all you guys out there who are looking to up your marriage game. We'll have a link for the application for Accelerator if you're a business owner and you want to take those 3 areas of your life to the next level: your marriage, your parenting, and your business. You can go to gooddadproject.com/Friday 5. Yes, we did away with Thursday Throwdown a few weeks back, but we did it for a good reason. Now you have shows on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You get a nice little Tuesday, Thursday break between shows. So, Dan, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Gentlemen, go out and live legendary. Take care.